Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective. Ho, ho, ho. It's that time of the year, folks. Yeah, that's right. That's me. Ooh, look at my face. Ooh. For those of you watching live on YouTube or Facebook.com/SiriusX. Wait, try it. Facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ or YouTube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork. You're getting quite the picture now. Ray Flowers here at FantasyGuru.com. For those of you that aren't watching, they're listening on podcast form, checking us out over at FantasyGuru.com by clicking that Elite Plus tab at the top of the page, typing in Fantasy Sports Daily to your podcast network, whether it's Pandora or YouTube or Spotify or Apple iTunes or wherever it might be. Welcome, by the way. I am Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. I'm wearing my holiday sweater from Star Wars. Got my little stormtrooper on there. There's a photo of me wearing the sweater outside. There's Santa Claus over one shoulder. What, that shoulder? There's me over that shoulder. There's holiday Festivus behind me. Hopefully you're enjoying the background here. Let's go, as we say at FantasyGuru.com. This is Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com, Monday through Friday. We're on here at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Free show, tell a friend. Available in all the places I just mentioned. If you're watching live on Facebook or on YouTube, you can ask questions, leave comments. We'll interact with you throughout the show. This week, an update on the schedule before we dive into the reviews today. It is a holiday weekend, obviously. A happy Hanukkah, happy Merry Christmas for all those people that celebrate those two special events. That's coming up this week. So what we're going to do is we're going to have the show today. We're going to have the show tomorrow on Christmas Eve. Martin Marsaul is going to join us about halfway through the show, 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, as he always does on a Tuesday. We'll talk waiver wires to help get your lineup set for the week. There'll be no show on Christmas Day. It is the one day of year I refuse to work. It's about the only day of the year I won't work. And I saw Jeff Mann say this on his video the other night. On Sunday nights, he does a video that he puts on TikTok. And he said the right thing. He said, the NFL wants you to watch the games on Wednesday. And if you hate your family and you got nothing else to do, or you're home alone, or, don't get drunk in a corner, watch the football games. That's fine. But for the most of us, including me, I'm not watching the games on Wednesday. I'm not watching football games on Christmas. I'm spending time with my family and loved ones and all of that. I encourage you all to do the same thing. I will obviously be watching the games on Thursday, catching up, all that kind of stuff. But as Jeff said, enjoy Wednesday. Enjoy the time with your family. Watch the games later in the week if you have the opportunity to do so. In terms of what our schedule is this week over at FantasyGuru.com, things are changing. The NFL boning the players, as I mentioned in Discord earlier today. Boning the players, they don't care about player safety. Got teams like the Chiefs and, the Ravens playing 3 games in 11 days. They don't care about the 50 million people that play fantasy football because this is championship week for the majority of people. And this is the most diversified, most disastrous, most spread out football schedule in the history of the NFL. It's a disaster. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. I mean, it's just so. What we're going to do at FantasyGuru.com is do the best we can to keep up. As I noted, I don't work Christmas Day. It's been that way. I almost got fired from my job when I was in. Right after I finished junior college, I went to work at a retail store for a while. It was the place I was working part-time, selling jerseys and hats and jackets and all that kind of stuff, sports memorabilia. And I told my boss at 23, I was the manager of the store at that time. And I said, look, I'm not working Christmas Day or Christmas Eve. And he said, well, if you don't, you're fired. I said, all right, I'm fired. So at 23, I told my boss to go to hell. He didn't fire me because he couldn't fire me. But I'm not working Christmas Day. So I won't be answering any questions anywhere on Christmas Day. I can't speak for the rest of the staff. I don't know how many of them are going to be answering questions on Christmas Day. Pretty sure Jeff Manns isn't going to be around. Pretty sure most folks aren't going to be around. And that sucks. My direct advice to you and everyone, because we're going to be all these questions and all these disappointed people. You guys are abandoning us. We're not abandoning you. Okay? We're not. I'm going to do my best to get my matchup article that comes out on Thursdays. I'm going to do my best to get the early part of the week, Wednesdays and Thursdays games, posted. So you'll have that information. So you'll be able to review that. We'll do this show again tomorrow. Well, I'll obviously be in Discord today and tomorrow, as I'm assuming the rest of the staff will too. Jeff Mann's rankings will be updated to the site. Use the rankings. That's what they're for. I said it in Discord multiple times. I'll say it here to all of you. I think I have too here. 98% of the answers I give on all the start-to-sit questions you asked, 98% of them, no exaggeration, 98% of them are from the rankings at FantasyGuru.com. There are probably 3 to 5 players a week that I disagree with Jeff on. And that's, I'm moving guy from 16 to 19 or guy from 27 to 23. Like, it's nothing. It's not I'm taking guy 19 and putting him 42 or taking guy 42 and putting him 19. I'm not doing that. Use the rankings. That's what they're for over at fantasyguru.com. All right, let's dive into what we're talking about today. What are we talking about today? It's a Monday. And what we do on Mondays is the only day of the week where we're writing solo. Tuesdays, it's me and Armando, as we'll have tomorrow. Wednesdays, it's Justin Fensterman and Rich Miletto. Thursdays, it's me and Tyler Beaker. Fridays, it's me and Russell Clay. But on Mondays, I just ramble on. As you can see there, that's what we got. I got no notes. I just look at this page. We have a stream of consciousness discussion where we break down every Sunday game, talking about both sides of the game action from Sunday, and we have at it. So we'll get to that in a brief moment. Before we do, one last little bit there. One last little bit. You can see it there on the screen. The rest of the way, it's green. If you want to get the seasonal football product, the wagering football product, and DFS football product from now through the Super Bowl, the only thing you don't get is the Super Bowl betting package. If you want to get all that, it says $65 there. I've been told, send a note to support@fantasyguru.com. Support@fantasyguru.com. Say, hey, Ted, what can you work out for me? And Ted will probably chop that price down. So we've been lowering it. I'm pretty sure you can get it for less than $65 for the rest of the way if you want. Send a note to support@fantasyguru.com. The other way to get involved with us over at FG is to buy those gift cards. Buy them for your family, for your friends. Buy it for yourself. Because remember, if you buy a $25 gift card, we give you $35. You buy a $50 gift card, we give you $65. You buy a $100 gift card, we give you $125. You buy a $200 gift card, we give you $250. So if you want, buy the card for yourself and apply the free money. Give it to your family. Give it to your friend. Buy a $200 card, get $250. Multiple people you know can join us over at fantasyguru.com. So check that out. That's fantasyguru.com/product/gift-card. fantasyguru.com/product/gift-card. Really is a great haul. There's still time. You know, if you're looking and you're running around, is Amazon Prime going to get there on time? Do I got to go to the mall and fight every 17-year-old in the world? fantasyguru.com/product/gift-card. All right, let's dive into the game action here on a Monday. See all the people commenting in Discord. Welcome. All right, let's talk about the first game on the list, the Giants and the Falcons. And this is really, you know, I got Malik Nabers listed there. The quarterback play for the Giants is terrible. It could be the worst in football. And it doesn't matter who's under center. You know, Drew Lock, again, yesterday, 2 pick sixes. One of them wasn't really his fault, but still. Malik Nabers is constantly dealing with some kind of injury. He's constantly dealing with crappy quarterback play. He's dealing with the team that can't run the football, and he still produces every week. Yesterday, it was 14 targets, massive number. So when you get 7 catches for 68 yards, you're disappointed when you see that workload. It's caught 50% of his passes, for goodness sake. His floor is as stable as any receiver in football. Now, the ceiling is never there, and that's the disappointing thing with Malik Nabers, because he's had so many games where it's in that 9 to 12 target zone, including yesterday we had 14, where you would expect there to be those 10, 132 kind of games. In this offense, it just can't happen. But my gosh, if you've got Malik Nabers and you're looking toward the future and you're in a dynasty league, keeper league, you got a banger, folks. Being that his floor is uber consistent with arguably the worst offense in football, you got to feel magnificent about his future. And here in the fantasy playoffs, if you're still going on week 17, all that kind of stuff, Malik Nabers, fire him up every week. On the other side of things, Michael Penix went 202-0 in an interception. Now, the interception wasn't his fault. So though it's on there, it's not. He wasn't to blame. He threw a pass to Kyle Pitts that Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts, by the way, 1 catch for 7 yards. The other one turned into an interception. Arguably, as we discussed, I think it was last week, he's going to go down as one of the greatest busts in football history. Certainly at the tight end position, Kyle Pitts. Oof. Michael Penix looked pretty good. A little different to see a big lefty out there throwing the ball, right? As Jeff Mans talked about on the Elite Sports Show, which is Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. He won't be on Christmas Day this year. I won't be on with him this week. So only going to get me 4 times this week instead of 5. I'm normally on Wednesdays with Jeff from that 3 to 6 time slot. Jeff talked about the fact that your left tackle, which is the blindside guy, now your right tackle is the blindside guy for a lefty, right? So it changes protections, changes how the offensive line goes. A lot of people, I think, underestimate the spin you get off the ball with your lefty or righty for pass catchers. It is different. But Michael Penix looked calm. He looked collected, and, he was fine. They defeated the Giants 34-7, so he didn't have to do anything. He was fine. As Jeff Mann said on his TikTok video, he said, Kirk Cousins could have won that game yesterday, and totally think that's the case. But Penix was fine. Did that effort engender all kinds of excitement heading into Week 17 in those 2 QB Superflex leagues? No. Does it make me nervous about starting him as a second quarterback? No, it was fine. Nothing exciting. He was fine. Next game, we're going to Arizona and Carolina. Arizona falls to 7-8. They fall out of the playoffs. They're done. Carolina moves to 4-11. And look, I just got to say it, okay? Because I've had a love-hate relationship. Actually, it's been a hate relationship with Kyler Murray forever. I am so tired of getting Kyler Murray questions. So I'm stating it right here on December 23rd, 2024. I don't know if I'm going to answer any start-him, sit-him questions next year with Kyler Murray. I'm being totally honest with all of you. I'm being totally serious. You know who Kyler Murray is. What Kyler Murray has been this year is exactly who he has been for his career. There are highs, there are lows. At the end, he's quarterback 10. It's just how it is. I'm not taking starts. I think I'm really going to outlaw start-sit questions for Kyler Murray. If you're drafting Kyler Murray, you're in for Kyler Murray. If you're going to draft Kyler Murray and you're going to want to change by week 4, don't draft Kyler Murray. Okay? I'm so tired of answering Kyler Murray questions. Week after week after week. Because I have to tell people week after week after week to play this guy who I don't like, who I would never have quarterback on my team, as we talked about here on the show. I said this before he was even played 1 week at the NFL. I said, nope. Saw him in that interview. Nope. Don't want him. And you look up, and every week he's anywhere from quarterback 8 to 14 every week. Yesterday, he threw for 202 and a touchdown, ran for 63 yards and a touchdown. If you didn't play him yesterday against Carolina, who was a bad defense, don't draft Kyler Murray anymore. Now, the Panthers winning this game to the Cardinals, just goes to tell you what I've said all along about Kyler Murray is true. The dude's a loser. His body language is awful. He never smiles. He's never happy. He's on the bench. For those of you not watching, his head's down. Every time after the possession, on the bench with his head down. No one talks to him. He sits by. Nope. But he is who he is in the fantasy space, and he was that guy yet again yesterday. Chubb Hubbard on the other side of things. I mean, this has really played out. I saw some people in Discord thanking us as a group over at fantasyguru.com. Remember, if you sign up with us, that that Elite Plus tab at the top for all the shows, and the subscribe tab a little bit further to the right to sign up for any of the products at fantasyguru.com, including the other sports. If you remember, by the way, you get Discord access with all these packages. And we've had multiple people the last couple of days say, thank you for talking me out of trading Chubb Hubbard. Because a lot of people got nervous when Jonathan Brooks was coming back. They thought the gravy train was going to end with Hubbard. And so they, I guess, traded him. And they traded him at a point where it wasn't good to trade him because Jonathan Brooks was on the cusp of coming back, and that lowered his value, right? Well, Brooks obviously had the injury to his knee yet again, and Hubbard continued to be the lead guy. And yesterday he exploded. And we had him, I think, as running back 13 or 14 this week. And he went for 152 yards and 2 touchdowns. And, he caught a couple passes, as he always does. 4 of them, only 13 yards, but he caught 4 passes. It's 150. That's 165 yards from scrimmage, 2 touchdowns, and a gazillion points. And remember, they gave him that huge contract. And Brooks is obviously not going to be ready for the start of next season. And his career at this point has got to be up in the air. Chubb Hubbard, another huge effort, powering the Panthers to victory. And Bryce Young, 2 touchdown passes, ran for 68 yards and a touchdown. I don't know why you would have been starting Bryce Young yesterday. You shouldn't have been starting Bryce Young yesterday. But if you did, you got a payoff. Next up, Detroit defeats the Bears as expected, 34-17. If you didn't see it, Sam LaPorta had 4 catches for 43 yards and a touchdown. The touchdown was on a play where it was a fake play. It was a trick play by the Lions. They did a snap where Jared Goff acted like he fumbled the snap, and Jahmyr Gibbs dove like he was trying to get the fumble on the bad snap. And then he threw a touchdown pass to LaPorta, a 21-yard score to Goff. Another solid effort for LaPorta, 4 catches, 43 yards, and a touchdown. His second half has been way better than his first half. Still not going to come close to living up to expectations. Given the draft capital, 2nd, 3rd round draft pick for most people, he's been a miserable failure. I just find it interesting that he's coming on late here and he's getting in the end zone and all this kind of stuff. It's always on trick plays. Like, more power to Ben Johnson and the offense and all that kind of stuff. The Lions, I wouldn't want to face the Lions. I mean, they're a really good football team. But Sam LaPorta's touchdowns are always on trick plays or blown coverage. I don't know. But he had another strong effort yesterday. If you were forced to play him, and I kind of look at he's not a top 10 tight end at this point. He really isn't. But if you played him yesterday, because it's kind of what you got, I have him in one league. In that league, we have flex options. We don't have tight end spots. So I'm not forced to play a tight end each week. Didn't play him yesterday. So you're probably in the same boat if you had another option. If you didn't, you started him, you got your payoff. On the other side of things, Caleb Williams, look, the Bears lost. They stink. They're 4-11. They're probably going to make changes in this offseason yet again. But Caleb Williams is rolling here. And he had another game where he didn't throw an interception, 334 yards and 2 touchdowns. He ran for 34 yards. He actually led the team in rushing. DeAndre Swift dominated snaps and touches in the backfield. Roschon Johnson had 1 touch. But the Bears couldn't run the football. DeAndre Swift only ran for 20 yards. So Swift was a huge disappointment, 53 yards from scrimmage. But again, played all the snaps, had all the touches out of the backfield. So it was the right call. Just the Bears offense was so anemic and they fell behind so early to the Lions that they just erased the run game. But Caleb Williams, let's pull it up as we're talking here. Caleb Williams, we haven't finished week 16, obviously. We got a couple of weeks here to go. But let's look at the stats for the quarterbacks real quick. Where is Caleb Williams? And you're going to tell me he's quarterback 16 or something, right? Kyler Murray, 11. Caleb Williams, 12. Maybe it wasn't as bad of a rookie season as some people have suggested. Moving on to Cleveland and Cincinnati. Bengals defeated the Browns 24-6. As expected, DTR entered and the Browns offense went in the toilet. Didn't help that early in the game there, Donta Foreman, who fumbled the ball at the 1.5 foot line, 1 foot line, right at the goal line, fumbled the ball, never played another snap the rest of the game. That was it for him. That really torpedoed the Browns. They, again, only had 6 points the rest of the way. DTR did absolutely nothing. Jerome Ford was the hero on the offense. I guess, David Njoku 8 for 66. That's still really good. He had 10 of the 34 attempts, so over a 30% target share. He had 66 of the 157 yards, so over 40% of the yardage. 41 of the 66 yards were after the catch, so it was a lot of him, but he did his thing. But Jerome Ford ripped off that 66-yard touchdown run at the start of the game, and people probably got a little excited. It's all right, well, at least we got Jerome Ford. He's okay. If we started him this week, so we had no choice. All right, it's not going to be an over here. Only ran for 92 yards, which is disappointing given the 66 to start the game, but he had 92 yards and a touchdown, and he caught 5 balls for 39 yards. A strong effort for a guy that we had listed as a flex option this week. I'm trying to think. I don't have him this year on any of my teams. Again, we had him running back 28, something like that this week. So it wasn't, I'm not saying we at fantasyguru.com were like, oh my gosh, you got to start Jerome Ford. But it's nice to see Ford and Njoku do their thing. Obviously, as we discussed here on the show directly, I said, don't play Jerry Jeudy, 2 catches for 20 yards. Elijah Mitchell, 2 catches for 21 yards. This offense and DTR is going to start again if he's healthy enough. He's got a leg issue, apparently. They said he's going to start the next game too, so can't be playing any Browns other than Ford and Njoku. Can't be playing any wide receivers for this team in the fantasy playoffs or in the championship week. On the other side of things, since we talked one running back, let's talk the other running back. Chris Brown, he didn't do anything yesterday. Didn't get in the end zone, which is disappointing. 3 touchdown passes, 250 yards for Joe Burrow. I think that's 8 straight games. He's gone 250 and 3, which makes him the first quarterback ever to do that. So he had a touchdown catch for Chase, Higgins, and Yoshalash. So Brown didn't get in the end zone, but just wanted to give him a little bit of props because he's fallen into that zone. The offense works. They always have success passing the ball. Defenses can't focus on the run. Here we go. 18 carries for 91 yards is a really good effort. It's more than 5 yards a carry for Brown. And he also caught 3 balls for 18 yards. So even though he didn't do anything, he had 21 touches. He had over 100 scrimmage yards, and no other running back touched the football. So continue to start Brown. Yesterday's kind of the floor for him, which is pretty remarkable. He's, Khalil Herbert played 2 snaps or something like that. He didn't even see the field. It's Brown the whole time. And you know that by now. Another effort like that for Chase Brown. I said Chris Brown earlier. I was singing the song. Chase Brown is the right name of Brown. Next up, Tennessee and Indiana. Look, Titans almost came back this game. Colts almost blew a 30-point lead. They won 38-30. What was the score? Was it 38-7 7, I think, at one point. Yeah, it was 38-7 at one point. They almost blew a 30-point lead. We'll talk about the Colts in a second. On the Titans side of things, I highlighted Chig Okonkwo. You could have highlighted Tajay Spears as well. Pollard just not right physically. Yesterday, Spears actually played more snaps than Pollard did. He had more touches than Pollard did. So that's a really dicey scenario if you have Pollard heading into Week 17. We'll talk more about Tajay Spears tomorrow with Armando Marsaul talking in the waiver wire because he probably is available in some leagues, though he should have been picked up in every league last week. We'll continue to talk about him. But really, the star of this one was Chig Okonkwo. Really got in the end zone. Nick Westbrook-Akini got in the end zone. So those of you that played those two guys, you got your payoff. Okonkwo, 9 catches for 81 yards and 11 targets. Catches and targets were career bests. That's a 33% target share. He didn't get in the end zone, but Chig Okonkwo, 9 for 81. We'll talk tomorrow with Armando Marsaul about him too. That's 2 straight games where Okonkwo has seen a big volume of passes. Is that sustainable? No. Is he in the streaming conversation for tight ends? I know everyone loves to chase points. It's hard to look away from 981, though. Brenton Strange, how'd that go? We'll talk about him in a few minutes. Chig Okonkwo, huge game yesterday. On the other side of things, the Colts ran for 335 yards, a career or a franchise best all time. Jonathan Taylor went bonkers. He didn't have a single catch. Why? Because they only threw 11 passes. They threw 11 passes and scored 38 points. 218 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground for Taylor. Now, that should have been 217 yards and 2 touchdowns. Why? Anthony Richardson, who had a touchdown pass, went 9 for 70 and 1 on the ground. That should have been 9 for 71 and 2 on the ground. The NFL's replay system, I hate it. I've said it forever. It delays games. You watch replays. How many times do you watch a replay with your brother and his homie you're on the couch eating your Doritos, drinking your beer, and 2 of you watch the replay and say yes, and 1 of you says no. And then the next replay, it's 1 of you saying yes and 2 of you saying no. The game, the speed of the players and the camera angles and all that stuff. If Anthony, you're supposed to have irrefutable evidence to overturn a touchdown. Anthony Richardson was at the goal line. His knees were not on the ground. His legs were on the ground, but his forearm hit the ground. They freeze the film. As his forearm hits the ground, the ball is on the goal line. It's called the touchdown live. They have to have irrefutable evidence to overturn it. Somehow, with that replay, they overturned the Richardson touchdown. Bonkers, bananas, wrong. The ball was on. All it has to do is touch the goal line. It touched the goal line. Somehow, with replay, they overturned it. It's one of the worst overturned calls I've ever seen. So, Jonathan Taylor, who's already having this massive game, gets a 3rd rushing touchdown. Anthony Richardson, who was fine with his effort yesterday, would have had a massive game. He would have 2 rushing touchdowns instead of 1. NFL, man, I can't do it anymore. But Jonathan Taylor had a huge effort. The one league I have Jonathan Taylor, Scott Fishbowl, I was eliminated last week. Too bad, too, because I scored like 250 points this week. But, yeah, that's how it goes. All right, next up, let's talk a little bit of the Rams and the Jets. 19-9 here. The Rams moved to 9-6. The Jets season continues to spiral. Can it get worse? It keeps saying that, and it seemingly gets worse. Yeah, it was cold there. Yeah, the Rams had to go cross country. The Rams threw the ball 19 times. They didn't do anything other than just run out the clock because they knew the Jets were so bad they didn't have to do anything other than run out the clock to win the game. So Cooper Kupp, 3 catches for 24 yards, which made him the 2nd best pass catcher on this team because Puka Nacua had 8 catches for 56 yards. There have been games, obviously, this season where each one of these guys is catching double digits. The duo yesterday had 11 catches for 80 yards and no scores. Come on, man. Come on. The Jets are so unbelievably bad that the Rams just said, we're just going to run the ball 30 times and go home with the victory. And they did. Cooper Kupp was a killer. Even Puka Nacua, 13.6 PPR points, 5.6 non-PPR points. Not a killer, but very much in the Cortland Sutton zone that we talked about last Friday. It's like, okay, it's not a killer, but geez, it's just not good. And Cooper Kupp, 3 for 24, just terrible. But what do you expect when the team throws the ball 19 times? And they get a random touchdown to Tyler Higbee? Sucks. On the other side of the thing with the Jets, Breece Hall dominated yesterday. And this, there's been a lot of this back and forth, and I don't know what the Jets have done. We've talked about this forever, so there's no need to rehash it all here. But Breece Hall had 53 snaps yesterday. Allen and Davis had 10 each. Breece Hall ran 32 routes yesterday. Allen and Davis had 5 each. Hall had 6 targets. Allen and Davis had 1. Hall had 14 carries. Allen and Davis had 5. This is Breece Hall's show, as it should be. That's 19 touches for Breece Hall. Breece Hall, including in the 19 touches, was 90 scrimmage yards, didn't get in the end zone, but had 5 catches. Another favorable matchup coming up here in Week 17. Breece Hall's a rock-solid running back, too. With the way the offense sputters out, I mean, in the old days, if you got 42 passes from Aaron Rodgers, what was your offense going to do? A lot more than 256 yards and 1 touchdown, right? That was going to be a 288 and 3 banger. Yeah, just it is. Their offense sucks. So there's no real ceiling with Breece Hall. But just remember to keep starting Breece Hall if you got him. Yesterday was a good indicator of that. Philadelphia and Washington. Now this one, I'm in 4 seasonal semifinals. So 4 of my 5, let me verify that one. Actually, let me make sure that I'm not speaking out my butt. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Of my 6 main leagues, of the 6, the only 2 I didn't make, one of the 2 I didn't make it was the Elite Mafia League. But of 4 of my 6 leagues, I made the semifinals, my main leagues. I think I'm going 0-4. In 3 of those leagues, I believe I have Josh Allen, who decided after being the best player in fantasy the last 3 weeks to not even give you half of his normal game, which is terrible. The other one, which I've been the best team in that Sirius XM host league all year long, virtually, I have Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Hurts threw 4 passes yesterday and had 3 carries and played a quarter. Jeff Mann's talked about this on his TikTok video, and I have to agree with Jeff. I'm not really sure what goes on with the NFL. I don't know how the eye in the sky really handles this. What I do know is that yesterday Jalen Hurts was hit when he was going to the ground. He got helmet to helmet as a defender kind of dove on him. Wasn't a dirty play. The guy was trying to make a tackle. Okay, fine. But the fact is that he got up and looked a little woozy. He said he was fine. He gave the thumbs up to the ref. Fine, whatever. They sent Jalen Hurts to the bench. Okay, cool. So they send him to the bench. He gets looked at. They clear him. He puts his helmet back on. He's getting ready to go back in the game. Apparently, the eye in the sky or whoever in the NFL, the overlord, said, you need to check him again. And again, I could be wrong with this. Okay. But what actually happened is this. They checked him in the blue tent. He came out of the tent and was ready to go to the game, back into the game. Then they sent him to the locker room. So someone made the call that even though he apparently cleared from the blue tent because he put his helmet back on and was ready to go back in the game, they made him go to the locker room. Bottom line is he didn't return to the game. So now with the holiday week and everything, like, who knows if Jalen Hurts is going to be available with the head injury this week. No one knows that at this point in time. It was a killer in seasonal and DFS. Jalen Hurts, top 3 quarterback all year long, gives you nothing. He gave 50 yards of offense because he barely played. Catastrophic fail yesterday. If you have Hurts, it probably doesn't matter if he plays in Week 17 because you're probably not going to be active in Week 17. You're getting 4 points from your quarterback. Kenny Pickett comes in, and Kenny Pickett was Kenny Pickett. I will say this, at least he knew what he was doing. He didn't throw a single pass to Grant Calcaterra, didn't throw any passes to Dotson or any of these secondary guys. 23 targets of the 28 passes that team threw yesterday. 23 of the 28 targets went to Smith and Brown. And every time I looked up, Kenny Pickett was throwing the ball to A.J. Brown. Okay, Kenny Pickett stinks. The interception he threw was horrible. He didn't do anything. A.J. Brown had a huge game, 8 catches for 97 yards and a touchdown. He had, I think, 68 or 70 yards of penalties that he also created. So while he had 97 yards, I mean, theoretically, he's 170 yards of offense from him. I mean, he had a really impressive game. It's going to be a lot of Saquon Barkley, obviously, here in Week 17 if Jalen Hurts is unable to go. On the other side of things, Daniels, and they kept saying this on the broadcast, and they should have. Daniels threw 2 picks yesterday, right? Dammy Brown had a fumble. Brian Robinson had 2 fumbles. They turned the ball over 5 times against the best team in the NFC, right? Turned the ball over 5 times, and the Commanders still won this game 36-33. Pretty remarkable. And Jay Daniels went full-on ham. And, what I'm really surprised by is not that he had a huge game. Well, I guess I am surprised. 258 yards and 5 touchdowns as a passer is a massive game against the Eagles. It's a good defense. 99 carries for 81 yards on the ground. Massive fantasy game. What I'm surprised by is, again, this goes back to the Kyler Murray thing. If you had Jayden Daniels, and I got, 10 questions yesterday. I will be answering Stardom Sims on Sunday morning at SiriusXM Fantasy this week, 10 to 1 Eastern time. About 10 questions about people to start Jayden Daniels. It's like, why, if you have Jayden Daniels, why are you not playing him? Oh, the matchup with the Eagles. He scored 5 touchdowns and had 340 yards of total offense. These running quarterbacks, it's a cheat code, man. Guys haven't figured this out yet? It's a cheat code. It's not right. It's not the way it should be. You shouldn't get more points for running the football than for throwing the ball. I've argued this for years, but it doesn't matter what my argument is. That's the way the scoring works. Jayden Daniels should never be benched. Yeah, okay, I got Joe Burrow. Okay, fine. But come on, man. Come on. Jayden Daniels, a massive effort in a difficult scenario, and the Commanders moved to 10-5. A little bit of fortune in that, but they're going to make the playoffs, and that's a team you don't really want to face in the playoffs either. Jayden Daniels got a lot of Lamar Jackson in him, doesn't he? It's really impressive. Minnesota defeats the Seattle Seahawks by the score of 27-24. Good game here, close game down to the end. The big storyline here, well, there's many storylines here. Justin Jefferson finally had the game, right? 10 catches for 144 yards and 2 touchdowns. We've talked a lot about him. It's 7 for 75 and a touchdown every week, which is fantastic anyway. But he had a huge game yesterday. 10 catches, 144 yards, 2 touchdowns. No one else on the Vikings team had 40 yards receiving. It was all Justin Jefferson. Addison only had 35 yards, but he got in the end zone, so if you played him, you were fine. Darnold battling a bunch of hard hits, 2 for 246 and 3. Aaron Jones was the only game in town. Cam Akers had 1 touch yesterday. But Justin Jefferson doing Justin Jefferson things, and that's what should happen late in the year. You're playing a game you need to win, you get the ball to the guy. And they did. They moved to 13-2. Seahawks fall to 8-7, making their path to the playoffs more difficult against the Rams there. On the other side of things, Kenneth Walker missed some game action here. Returned yesterday. We knew he was going to be back. We knew that Charbonnet was dealing with a little bit of a health issue on his oblique, but he was going to play too. So we knew these two guys were back. It was very difficult to handicap how this was going to go. Ultimately, the rankings at fantasyguru.com, which I agreed with, had Kenneth Walker ahead of Zach Charbonnet. So in the sense of, hey, did we make the right call there, Walker over Charbonnet? Yeah, we 100% did. Did we make the right call at saying Charbonnet is a flex option? No. That was a mistake. For some reason, Walker returned, and it was the Walker show. It was like the last 3 weeks with Charbonnet scoring touchdowns and catching passes, doing all and looking better than Walker has looked most of the season, was forgotten by the team. Just forgotten. And Charbonnet barely saw the field. Now, Walker was hurt late. What was it, his ankle? Yeah, his ankle. I wrote a note because I kept forgetting. It was his ankle. Here's his ankle late in this game, and all of a sudden then Charbonnet came on. So if you started Walker yesterday, you were okay. He didn't do anything. He had 59 yards of offense, but he caught 8 passes. So if you're in a PPR setup, you're fine. If you're in a non-PPR setup, it was disappointing. Charbonnet ended up with 3 touches for 13 yards. Catastrophic failure. But Walker was already going for imaging last night on his ankle. There seems at this point in time on a Monday morning a very high probability that Kenneth Walker's not going to play this week. So Jack Charbonnet, if you're still playing, all of a sudden starting to look like a 20-touch, 18-point guy this week. We'll have to wait and see. That's a scenario right now that the Seahawks are dealing with. Patriots and the Bills. Patriots gave the Bills everything they could handle here. The Bills ultimately won 24-21. They moved to 12-3. Just a weird game. The Patriots jumped out to a 14-0 lead in this one. The Bills could never get going. And any game that the Bills are playing, they can win. It's just any game, right? But you watch yesterday's game, and you got to feel a little nervous if you're a Bills fan or you're part of the Bills Mafia heading into the playoffs. That was a tough game yesterday against a team they should have just beat. Beyond that, you've got Amari Cooper, who just isn't part of the offense. I don't know why. Just not part of the offense. He had the 14-target game, that one. The rest of the time, he's catching 2 passes for 25 yards. Yesterday, it was 1 catch for 10 yards. He is not part of the offense. You had Dalton Kincaid yesterday catching, 4 passes on 7 targets. He played like 20 snaps. He wasn't even on the field. You had no pass catcher, none, 0 for this team hit 30 yards. And that goes to the big storyline. Josh Allen, who had been scoring, when you have 10 touchdowns in 2 games and 14 touchdowns in 3 games, or whatever it was, yesterday threw for 154 yards and a touchdown, was picked once, and ran the ball for 30 yards. Terrible effort for Josh Allen. Terrible effort for the offense. And now we have concerns about Josh Allen's arm. I'm watching the broadcast. Okay, I've seen multiple reports talking elbow. Maybe it is the elbow. But I'm watching the broadcast. It's his hand. He's on the sideline shaking his hand. He's talking to the trainer, touching his hand. He's shaking his hand. He's touching his hand. He's looking at the trainer. So either it's something with his hand or it's a nerve issue in his elbow that radiated down to his hand. But the bottom line is he had that issue with his left hand that was broken, I guess, in week 1. He played through it and was obviously an MVP. But now it's his right hand or forearm or elbow. Some part of his right arm is not right. And after that hit that caused that, he didn't look right. And it was later in the game. So this has nothing to do with his overall poor performance. It wasn't like this happened on the second series and happened in the second half. But this is a huge storyline to watch now because, if you're still playing in week 17 after your number one star in fantasy, Josh Allen, bottoms out in week 16 against a beatable Patriots team, where is he at? Where's Mitch Trubisky? Where is he at with the Bills? Jacksonville, Las Vegas, who cares? I don't really. I know you probably don't. The Raiders defeated the Jaguars 19-14. Brenton Strange, bomb city. Brenton Strange was hit earlier in the game, had a fumble. He caught a pass. He then dropped the pass later in the game. He was basically benched in the second half. All told, he had 2 catches for 22 yards on his 4 targets. Again, he had a fumble and a drop, and he got benched late in the game. Luke Farrell was more involved late in the game here. So, you live by the waiver wire pickup. I guess you die by the waiver wire pickup. It was a hugely disappointing effort for Brenton Strange. The Jaguars, obviously, as I noted, just didn't get anything going against the Raiders defense that they should have been able to get something going. Not surprisingly, they didn't. Again, we've said it all along. I don't know how the Jaguars coaching staff hasn't all been fired. This team is just dreadful. Putting up 14 points in that lackluster effort against a Raiders team where weather wasn't an issue, dreadful. Another game where now it's Tank Bigsby. If you ever wanted to know where a team didn't know what they're doing, look at the usage pattern of Bigsby and ETN the last month. There's no plan. The plan is at the end, and this is kind of like the Broncos were a couple years ago with Javonte Williams. At the end, we want both of our running backs at the end of the season to have 50% of the touches. That's seemingly the plan. Because one week it's Bigsby with 18, then the next week it's ETN with 16, then the next week it's Bigsby with 14, then next week it's ETN with 13. There's no rhyme or reason to this. You know that by now. But Brenton Strange, Parker Washington had 6 catches. If you were desperate, hopefully that's not even in consideration. Brian Thomas, another huge game, 9 for 132 and 1. But Brenton Strange, you fumble the ball, you drop a ball, you get benched. That's how it goes. On the Raiders side of thing, Madison had more touches on the ground. He's the goal line back. He played more snaps. Did he play more snaps? Let me look this up real quick. I say that and I'm not sure. This information obviously will be in my article that comes out on Wednesday. I'll pop it out on Wednesday. I'll try to get it out. Maybe I can get it out Tuesday night. I'll try my preview piece again because the week is so weird. Madison played 10 more snaps than Abdullah, ran more routes than Abdullah, had the same amount of targets as Abdullah, and had more carries than Abdullah. So it was the Madison show. And he scored a touchdown, so I'll give him credit for that. But he turned his 16 touches into 56 yards. At least he got in the end zone. Now, Ameer Abdullah didn't do a hell of a lot better, but he also had a rushing touchdown, and he caught 5 balls for 47 yards. Ameer Abdullah has become the higher producing running back the last couple of weeks with Sincere McCormick out. You still got to favor Madison if you're desperate enough to be going the Raiders running backs, which, gosh, hope you're sure not. If you're still playing, I can't believe that you would be. But Madison, again, still the early down back, still the goal line back, still the touch guy, still the snap guy. Still got to favor Madison, even though, again, you don't want to be playing either one of these two. Deebo Samuel and the Niners lost to the Dolphins 29-17. I say that because Deebo Samuel turned back the clock yesterday in a game that didn't matter, in a season that's lost for the Niners. At least he did something. And it was highlighted by his touchdown. He had 7 catches for 96 yards and a score. If you missed the touchdown, go see it on review. He broke a tackle. He ran a guy over. He kind of broke another tackle. Like, for 3 guys, got in the end zone. And that's the Deebo Samuel that used to be a star in the fantasy game, not the guy that we have seen for the last 2 months who struggled to get 30 yards of offense as a pass catcher. Huge game for him yesterday. Kittle had 8 for 106. By the way, Samuel did have 5 carries for 25 yards. Patrick Taylor looked okay. Only had eight carries. They gave him 8 carries for 24 yards. The Niners were, listen to this. Purdy led the team when rushing with 26. Samuel had 25. Taylor had 24. Taylor played all the snaps. There was no other halfback that had a snap or had a touch yesterday. Juszczyk was involved, but he's obviously a fullback. Taylor played all the snaps. He just didn't get the ball. Bonacanda wasn't utilized. Keyshawn Vaughn wasn't utilized. It was all Patrick Taylor. So that call was right. He was the right guy to target and use this week. The call about starting him ended up being wrong because the Niners just didn't run the football. They just chose not to run the football. Their running backs carried the ball a total of 9 times yesterday. They chose not to run the football. I don't know why. They had, what was this? 9, 17, 18 carries for 85 yards. Average 5 yards a carry. Didn't run the football. On the other side of things, and again, though, Deebo Samuel did something. Hopefully this is a harbinger of success in the future. Maybe this is a reminder that we got a little too ahead of ourselves saying his career was done. He's toast. He's dust. So nice effort for him. Didn't matter. If you had Deebo Samuel, you probably weren't still playing if you had Deebo Samuel. And if you had Deebo Samuel, you probably weren't starting him. So it didn't do you any good, but at least there was that. On the other side of things, Tyreek Hill, I mean, I mentioned earlier how Kyle Pitts is going to go down as one of the biggest failures at the tight end position in NFL history from the looks of it. Tyreek Hill is going to go down as one of the biggest failures at the wide receiver position in the last decade at least, if not further, based upon expectations. He sucks. Can't bench him. Got in the end zone yesterday. 3 catches for 29 yards. He don't look right. The wrist issue, I don't know what the wrist has to do with his legs. I don't understand this. The offense is, I mean, it's the fact that the Dolphins moved to 7-8 and had 29 points against the Niners is pretty impressive because Tua Tagovailoa, and I don't know, I'm not looking at the numbers. What's his yard per attempt mark? 2. Every pass that Tua Tagovailoa throws, every pass, like all of them, are within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. The offense is Devon Achane. That's it. It's the entire Devon Achane and Jonnu Smith. That's the offense. That's it. Tyreek Hill, remember, folks, was a first-round pick in some leagues. In every league, he was gone by pick 20. He was a top 15 pick. He was a first-round pick in most leagues this year, and he sucks. And I don't care if his wrist is hurt. He's playing. He didn't blow something out. He's not Jonathan Brooks, who just been hurt and right? Massive failure is Tyreek Hill. And then finally, Tampa Bay and Dallas. Good game. It was a good, close game. Dallas defeated the Bucks. Dallas goes to 7-8. Tampa Bay drops to 8-7 as they try to win their division. Cowboys won 26-24. If you didn't see it late, Mayfield was under pressure, flipped the ball out to Rachaad White. Rachaad White caught the ball, carried it like a loaf of bread, was running around doing this kind of thing. Last minute, tried to pull it in. Didn't work. He got the ball knocked out of his hands for a fumble to win the game for the Cowboys, in essence. It was like under 2 minutes left in the game. So, I don't know about Rachaad White's touch count in week 17. Something to think about because he didn't cost the team the game, right? No one play does that. But running around doing this kind of thing with the ball and then getting it stripped from you under 2 minutes left in the game, we have a chance to win. So he didn't do anything on the ground, 3 carries for 10 yards. He at least caught 7 for 50. Bucky Irving got in the end zone. Baker Mayfield went for 302. I wanted to talk real quickly about Jalen McMillan. And I don't know, someone please let me know in chat room here. If you did someone in the national media talk about Jalen McMillan? I asked this question because I was anticipating a bazillion Kendry Miller questions yesterday, and I got those doing the Stardom Sit-em every Sunday, 10 to 1 Eastern at SiriusXM Fantasy on Twitter X. I was anticipating getting all the Miller questions, and they came in just as anticipated. Hundreds of them. I think there were more Jalen McMillan questions than Kendry Miller. And if I'm being honest with you, and I'm always honest, at least I try to be, through 16 weeks, I guess 15. 1 week I didn't do it. Through 15 of the 16 weeks I've done this season on Sundays answering questions, I don't think I've had one single player that was asked about more than Jalen McMillan. I'm being totally serious. Now, I know that half of you out there play in 2 wide receiver leagues, which blows my mind away that any of you would even be considering using Jalen McMillan. Even if you're in a 3 wide receiver league, which is what you should be. And again, that's been the industry standard for decades, literally decades. Since I started 25 years ago full-time in this industry, it was 3 wide receivers then. Everyone still goes 2. I don't know why. But even if you have 3 wide receivers, like what caused everyone to think that, oh my gosh, Jalen McMillan, was it merely Cade Otton wasn't going to play? Is that it? Was that it? Now, Jalen McMillan went 5 for 57 and 1. So all those people that were going to start him, they didn't listen to my advice and they started him. They came out ahead because he had a good game. Statistically speaking, that was a good game. But why? What? Because Cade Otton was out? Was that it? Terrible analysis if that's it. Remember, you can do the right analysis and have poor results. And you can do the wrong analysis and have good results. Starting Jalen McMillan yesterday was the wrong process. The results were good. It was the wrong process. I'd really be interested to see why people, because it's just bananas. I don't remember ever having more questions about a single guy than Jalen McMillan. On the other side of things, Rico Dowdle, oof. 4 straight games of 85 rushing yards, 3 straight games of 100 rushing yards, if I'm not mistaken. Yesterday, 13 carries for 23 yards. As bad as that was, and that's awful. Ezekiel Elliott played 3 snaps yesterday, had 1 touch, 1-yard touchdown. At least give it to Rico Dowdle. Now, I don't have Dowdle in a single league. Didn't affect me at all. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. Did I face anyone that had Rico Dowdle? I don't even know. But 13 for 23, while Ezekiel Elliott, who doesn't even play a series of snaps the entire game, gets the rushing touchdown. That's dagger to the heart stuff. Dowdle had 3 catches for 28 yards. Just brutal after a month of being, one of the better producing running backs in all of football. To do nothing yesterday and to lose that touchdown to Ezekiel Elliott. Ugh. All right, let's look at some comments here before we shut things down here on the show. Remember, we'll be back tomorrow on Christmas Eve, 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I'll be on for about a half hour breaking down Monday Night Football and the news of the day. And then about 12:30 Eastern Time, Amanda Marsaul will join. We'll talk waiver wires with him. Doug, welcome back, Doug. Hello, Doug. Hello, Sean. Everybody's freaking out about Stafford and Hurts and season long yesterday, says Sean. I went easily with Stafford. Another guy in my league went easily with Hurts. It can be done. It wasn't done in my scenario. The one league I told you I had Hurts, SiriusXM host league, I got killed. I think Joe Dolan's beating me this week. But, yeah, Joe's got a good team. I had a really good team, too. And it's never one player. Again, let's pull it up real quick while we're talking here. It's never one player. It's all – that's another – well, that is a league. And another – okay. These leagues with kickers and defenses are just brutal. They're just brutal, right? Like, they're just dumb. Yesterday, Sanders and the Ravens this week let me make sure it's Joe. Joe Dolan got 37 points from his kicker and his defense. 37 points from his kicker and his defense. I got 19. Like, that's just stupid. They're just dumb. I wouldn't have won. It wouldn't have mattered. But that's just dumb. Stupid. Dumb. But yeah, on my team, the reason I lost, I had 13. That's the wrong league. Sorry. It's the Elite Listener League where I had, it's the Elite Listener League where I had it. Hello. Oh my gosh, I'm going to win. You know what? Sean, you're right. I have a 95% chance of winning despite getting 5 points from Jalen Hurts. It can be done. My opponent, Zach Charbonnet, didn't do anything. Romeo Dobbs needs to score 20 points tonight. That's possible, but unlikely. So it can be done. You're right, Sean. Look at that. Let's go, Tony. He needs 4.49. I hate the hundredths of a point. 4.49 points from Kendry Miller tonight. You're going to get it. Feel good. Your chances of winning, yes. Yes. Henry says, yeah, morning tough day for Allen owners. It was in the SiriusXM host league where I had Allen, where I was facing Joe Dolan, 12 points. By the way, Joe had Jalen Hurts with 4. So that just goes to show you. Joe Mixon for me had 9 points. Terrible. Cortland Sutton had 10 points. Jacoby Myers had 6 points. Travis Kelce had 4 points. Khalil Shakir had 4 points. Just one of those weeks. All right, let's go rolling through here. Made to the championship, says Doug. Let's go. Cash it, Doug. Win those championships. Remember, over at fantasyguru.com, all the Discord rooms, everything are open. Ask those questions. You can send me stuff on Twitter X at SiriusXMFantasy. Not as responsive there. Don't answer as much there. We do the show for free, but try to give all the advice for the paying customers. Hit us up over at fantasyguru.com. Let's see here. Doug says Kyler is too small for a QB. Maybe. That's something I said from the start. So, there's Doug Flutie and, there's some small guys, and it's just tough. It's tough when you got to throw rainbows. And I always wonder, I've never met Kyler Murray, but it's funny. I'm about 6'4", so it'd be really funny. He'd look like my little brother. My little brother, by the way, is 6'1", so it really would look like my little brother. Let's see here. David P., I bet it's a question. I was tied with my opponent, had Rachaad White in the Tampa kicker. I had Aubrey on the ship. Thanks for the help. Good move. Enjoy your holiday. Family's always number one. Thank you, David. Appreciate that. It is. Let's see here. What kind of head coach do you think Detroit's offensive coordinator will be? I don't know. Johnson's going to go somewhere, yeah, and we'll see. I'm really focused on right now. I'm not a big picture guy when it comes to football. I don't become a big picture guy when it comes to football until the offseason. So I honestly haven't been checking coaching stuff at this point in time. I know there's openings and all that, but Johnson's going to end up somewhere, and he's an inventive mind. He's going to bring some offensive excitement to whatever team he has. Steve, I'm up 27. My opponent has Miller and McManus. Do I have a chance? Of course you do. I think Miller is a 15-point guy this week. We'll see. There's a lot of reports coming out now that they're going to use a committee kind of situation with the Saints backfield. We'll see. But 15 points for him. McManus, 8, 10. You're in play here. Let's see here. Let's see. I'm seeing Henry. 2 leagues and most points. I didn't make the finals in either one. Feel your pain, Ray. 14 weeks of being the top team. It all goes in the afternoon in 2 weeks. Yeah, Henry, and I've said this, and I've written this, and we've talked about it everywhere. No one agrees with me, so it doesn't matter. But I'm going to say it. Head-to-head sucks. It just sucks. It's dumb, and it sucks. No one's ever going to agree with me, so it doesn't matter. I will always end up losing that call, which is fine. It's the way it is. No one's going to get away from head-to-head. They love the juice. People love, as much as they love the win, I think they love to complain about losing. We should be playing roto. It should matter what you do all season long. It really should. But it's not the way the game is. It's the nature of it, the bouncing balls. We look at, we tend to look at things like I said earlier with Rachaad White dropping that ball at the end of the game. They didn't lose the game because of that. It's just that's the play everyone's going to remember because it was at the end of the game. Your team might have dipped the last 2 weeks, but did you get lucky in week 3 or 4 to get to where you were? You know how it goes. But yeah, Henry, I hear you. My teams were, and most of my teams, honestly, again, that's why I'm so disappointed. It looks like I'm going to go 0-4 in the semifinals. I had a couple of teams that were 8-6 and kind of just but the teams are really good, and I had all these options and all that, and it just just didn't work out. Oh well, that's how it goes. All right, so there it is, folks. Thanks for joining me today. Really appreciate it. Again, I'm Ray Flowers of fantasyguru.com. I'll be back tomorrow at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for a Christmas Eve Fantasy Sports Daily. Armando Marsal will join us at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. He'll talk the waiver wire. There's still time. Go to fantasyguru.com. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner of the page. Get our seasonal DFS and wagering football products, all 3 for the price of 1. Send us a note to support@fantasyguru.com. Send that email in to Ted. Support@fantasyguru.com to have him work his magic and get you involved. And you can also get a gift card. You put money in, we give you free bucks on top of it. fantasyguru.com/product/gift-card. fantasyguru.com/product/gift-card. We'll be back again tomorrow for Fantasy Sports Daily as we help you get those lineups set on this wacky championship final week for most of you in the 2024 fantasy football season. I'm Ray Flowers. This has been Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com. We'll talk to you tomorrow.